I have a secret child with your sister. Just get divorced quietly. No way. I'm not gonna get divorced. I answered immediately. I glanced at Arya and saw her smirking. So, what I feared has happened. I sighed. On the other hand, a surprised Samuel asked me again.
What? Why?
Obviously, because I stopped talking there. When we went back to my parents' house for our wedding greetings, I met Arya, and I had a feeling this might happen. So I'm prepared. I'm not who I used to be. Arya has been taking things from me forever. But this time, it's my turn. I'll never forgive you for betraying me. Not my sister, not my husband. You will both take responsibility for ruining my life. My revenge won't be sweet, so be prepared. Thinking this, I took a deep breath. My name is Chloe Smith. I'm a 30-year-old housewife, married for 3 years. Before marriage, I worked at a regional bank in Nebraska, and I married Samuel, who worked at the same bank. Samuel is kind and trusted at work. I like that he's serious and reliable. My in-laws are nice to me and have mentioned they want to see grandchildren soon. But that wish might not come true. Because lately, things have been a bit strained. The reason is probably that I'm not getting pregnant. I think it's fine to just let things happen naturally. But Samuel really wants kids and blames me for not getting pregnant. Maybe I should try fertility treatments. I stared at the gynecology search results in my browser history. Sure, if I get fertility treatments, there's a chance I could get pregnant just as Samuel wants. But what if I don't? I'm scared of that, so I can't go through with fertility treatments. Some people might think it's no big deal. But for me, it's a huge issue. Because until I met Samuel, I had no experience dating men. It might seem unrelated at first glance. I wish I could think so too. But I can't help thinking about it. If I break up with Samuel, there's no next chance for me. I'm sure my older sister Arya is the reason I think this way. Of course, blaming others isn't right. But if you knew Arya, you'd think the same. Arya is beautiful and well known in our hometown. However, her personality is the absolute worst. Especially her queen-like attitude, which made her despised by the other girls in her class. She can't stand it unless she's number one in everything. She takes being pampered for granted. If you defy Arya, she'll drive you to the brink. That's the kind of person Arya is. Naturally, she's no different at home. Since childhood, I've been reminded of this countless times. Among these bitter memories, there's one that stands out the most. It happened on my 10th birthday. That day, my mother unusually spoke to me. "Chloe, it's your birthday today, right? Is there anything you want?"
Huh? Really?
"We have no choice. Your grandpa." My mother continued with a tired expression. My grandfather on my dad's side had sent some money to celebrate. He told her to buy me something I wanted. And he asked for a report on what was bought. So, she couldn't avoid buying me something. She went on explaining all this. "So, what do you want?" I wanted many things. But what I wanted most was clothes. I always wore Arya's hand-me-downs. I never had any clothes bought just for me. I wanted my own clothes. Just as I was about to say this, Arya, who was next to me, smiled slyly. Then she said to Mom, "A dictionary might be a good idea." "A dictionary? Why?" "Chloe isn't good at studying and isn't cute either. Her future looks pretty bleak if she keeps going like this, don't you think?" Arya grinned. Mom thought for a moment and then smiled. "That's true. Chloe, you're nothing like Arya." "Wait, Chloe, you're okay with this, right?" My mother pressed me. I tried to object, but Arya cut me off. "Chloe, you don't have any complaints, right?"
I want clothes." "What?" "There's no point in a plain girl like you trying to look nice."
Arya shouted loudly. I flinched at the volume of her voice. Exactly, do as Arya says. Mom always sided with Arya. And she always doted on Arya. Probably because she liked Arya, who was more like her. In the end, I was firmly persuaded by Mom and Arya and ended up getting a dictionary. I called my grandpa to thank him, but I clearly remember I wasn't happy at all. This is how Arya always put me down. It was the same when it came to family outings.
Mom, Chloe said she doesn't want to go out.
Really? Then Chloe, stay home and watch the house. Needless to say, Arya made that up. But I didn't dare to say anything and stayed home. Even after that, I kept being manipulated by Arya. For example, when it came to dating. When there was someone I liked at school, Arya approached him before I could. And they started dating. I think it was because I had his photo.
Hey, why are you with him?
When I asked, Arya nonchalantly replied. Because you seem to like him.
You took him away? Why?
He's too good for you.
Dating with your looks, that's just greedy.
That really stung. I knew I wasn't good looking. But that had nothing to do with Arya. If I stayed around her, my life would be a mess. Thinking this, I decided to go to a regional college in Nebraska. Meanwhile, 2 years older Arya had already started her studies. She was attending a college in New York City.
Hey, I got scouted the other day. What should I do? Why don't you become a model? Yeah, maybe I will.
Mom and Arya got all excited. I was sick of their conversations. So I took the college entrance exam for a regional university without telling Mom anything. Soon enough, I got my acceptance letter. I didn't say anything to Mom or Arya until the end. It helped that neither Mom nor Arya showed any interest in me. I smoothly enrolled in a regional university. And I got a job at a local bank. That's where I met Samuel, who would become my husband. Eventually, Samuel proposed to me. Needless to say, I was on cloud 9. However, I had one worry. The so-called marriage greetings. Going to Samuel's parents' house wasn't a problem. The problem was Samuel coming to my parents' house. Arya would be there. What would happen if Samuel met Arya? I was terrified of the idea. But we couldn't skip the marriage greetings. I steeled myself and took Samuel to my parents' house. As luck would have it, Arya was out. Apparently, she had gone out with her boyfriend. I took advantage of the situation and quickly finished the greetings and left.
What? Getting married? You?
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Surprisingly, Mom was very nonchalant. Maybe my worries were unfounded. Just as I thought that. Mom said to me,
I need to talk to you. Come here.
My dad kept Samuel company. Glancing at them, I stood up. Following Mom, I went into her room. As soon as I entered, Mom exploded at me.
What the hell are you thinking? What do you mean? You're the younger sister. What makes you think you can get married before your sister?
I was taken aback. Being the younger sister or the older sister shouldn't matter. That's what I thought, but it seemed to be a big deal for Mom.
My sister has a boyfriend, doesn't she? I heard she went out with him today. So what? We're talking about you right now.
Mom's brows furrowed. I quickly looked away.
He's a banker, right? You're really getting ahead of yourself, aren't you? What do you mean?
Arya's boyfriend works at a factory.
That's right. You should let Arya have your guy.
Ah, so that's it. She didn't like that I was marrying someone with a better job than Arya's boyfriend. I knew I shouldn't have come to visit. I sighed and looked at Mom. She pursed her lips in dissatisfaction.
What? Got something to say?
Yes.
I'm not giving him up to my sister. You've become quite cheeky in the time I haven't seen you.
Mom ground her teeth. I brushed her off with a snort. I've grown up. I don't need to rely on you anymore, not at all.
Then at least wait until Arya gets married.
Mom was about to say when suddenly Arya's voice echoed from the entrance.
I'm home. Oh. Do we have visitors? This is bad.
I dashed out of Mom's room. I headed to the living room where Samuel was, but I was a step too late. But it was too late. Arya had already entered the living room ahead of me.
Who might you be? Hello? Are you Chloe's sister? I'm Samuel Smith, Chloe's boyfriend.
Here we go again, Arya meddling in my life. Bitterness flooded my mind, but contrary to my fears, Arya said something unexpected.
Oh, my sisters. Nice to meet you. I'm Arya, the older sister. Please take care of her.
I was speechless at Arya's reaction. Noticing this, Arya said,
He seems like a good guy. Are you getting married? Yeah. Congratulations.
Arya said, patting my shoulder. Then she walked past me.
Hey, sis.
What? Arya turned around. I had so much to say, but I couldn't find the right words. Seeing me silent, Arya said,
We're the only sisters. Of course I'm happy for you.
With that, she left the living room. I couldn't understand what had just happened. Anyway, my marriage greetings ended without incident. Samuel and I officially became husband and wife. However, I still had a nagging sense of unease. Arya couldn't have changed her nature so completely. She must be plotting something. But we lived far apart from each other. Even if she wanted to do something, it wouldn't be easy. Still, I took every precaution I could. By doing so, I kept my peace of mind. Soon, our newlywed life began. By that time, I had almost forgotten about Arya. We saw her at the wedding, but since then, there's been no contact from her. Even Mom didn't seem to reach out, and with nothing happening, I was relieved. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. By then, Arya was completely in the past for me. But another problem had surfaced. I wasn't getting pregnant. There was no issue in our married life, and we got along well. Still, I just couldn't get pregnant. Normally, you'd consult your own mother, but my relationship with her was strained. So, I talked to my mother-in-law. She told me,
Don't worry about it. These things depend on timing.
My mother-in-law treated me like her own daughter. I trusted her and thought of her as my real mom. But Samuel really wants kids.
It's fine. Just let things happen naturally.
My mother-in-law encouraged me, but Samuel was harsh with me.
Maybe it's your fault we're not having kids.
That's not true. We both got tested, I argued, and Samuel pouted like a child.
Test results can say anything. I just want a kid, no matter what.
Samuel kept making those claims. Because of that, things started getting tense between us. At this rate, not only would we not get pregnant, but we might even face a divorce crisis. Thinking that, I consulted Amelia, a friend from school who had experienced childbirth. So, that's the situation. What should I do?
For now, why don't you try changing your environment a bit? Huh? What do you mean? Well, how about taking a trip together? It could be a nice change of pace.
Traveling might be tricky if you're undergoing fertility treatments. But we were just trying to conceive. Less stress can make it easier to get pregnant. I remember seeing data about that somewhere.
All right. I've decided. I'll invite him on a trip.
I decided to boldly invite Samuel on a trip. If we're going, we should go to the resort we've been wanting to visit. So, I invited Samuel on a resort trip. I thought he might refuse, but he agreed right away.
I'll have to coordinate it with my work schedule, but yeah. Great. I'm looking forward to it. I'll take care of booking the trip.
Just like that, we decided to go on the trip. Afterward, Samuel booked the inn in the neighboring state that I wanted to visit. 6 months later, we finally set off on our trip. It was our first trip together since our honeymoon. From the moment we left the house, I couldn't contain my excitement. By the time we reached the inn, I worried I might be exhausted from all the talking. I kept chatting with Samuel the entire way. Samuel also seemed to enjoy listening to me. With this, making up with him won't be hard. My heart was racing with excitement. Yes, I was excited, alone. I realized this when we arrived at the inn. For some reason, Arya was waiting for us in front of the inn. As soon as she saw us, she waved.
Why is my sister here?
I asked Samuel, and his face suddenly turned serious. My mind filled with anxiety. We entered the room we had booked together. As soon as we were inside, Samuel apologized. I'm sorry, Chloe. Please listen to what I have to say.
Talk? About what?
Even as I asked, only unpleasant things came to mind. Samuel soon voiced one of them. I have a secret child with your sister. Just get divorced quietly. No way. I'm not gonna get divorced. I answered immediately. I glanced at Arya, and she was smirking. So, what I feared has happened. I sighed. Samuel, looking shocked, asked me again.
What? Why?
Obviously, because I stopped talking. When we went back to my parents' house for the wedding greetings and I met Arya, I had a feeling this might happen. So, I was prepared. I'm not who I used to be. Arya has been taking things from me forever. But this time, it's my turn. I'll never forgive you two for betraying me. Not my sister, not my husband. You will both pay for ruining my life. My revenge won't be sweet, so be prepared. Thinking this, I took a deep breath. When I looked up, Samuel was staring at me.
So, you're saying my sister is pregnant? Do you have anything else to say?
Yes.
Why won't you just divorce me?
Samuel raised his voice. I looked away as I answered.
Because I'll lose out if I agree to divorce now. Lose out? What are you talking about? I'll pay the affair damage money properly. Don't you trust me?
How could I trust a man who just confessed to cheating? Can't he see that? That aside, my main issue isn't with Samuel but with Arya. Arya is manipulative and has our mom on her side. So, she'll likely try to persuade me later. Arya is pregnant, isn't she? A good sister should think about her siblings' happiness. She'll definitely say something like that. But I've learned my lesson. I'm confident I can argue back, but I might still lose if she uses underhanded tactics. For example, what if Arya tells our relatives that Samuel was originally her fiancé? It would make it look like I'm the one who stole him. Of course, that's not true. But Arya is smooth-talking and attractive, so there are plenty of male relatives who would believe her. In other words, I need someone who will clearly testify that Arya's at fault. Normally, that would be the parents' role. But my parents are useless. My dad might help, but my mom always sides with Arya. So the only ones I can rely on are my in-laws.
Samuel, if you admit it's your fault in front of your parents, then I'll consider divorce. You mean that?
I'm not lying. I'm not like my sister. I glanced at Arya. She snorted in dissatisfaction.
Not like Arya? Arya doesn't lie.
Oh, Samuel's been fooled too. I sighed pointedly. Seeing this, Samuel suddenly got angry. He glared at me and raised his voice.
Do you hate your sister? She's such a kind sister.
A truly kind sister wouldn't steal her sister's husband. That thought crossed my mind. But instead of saying it, I decided to reveal Arya's true nature first.
Oh, right. You don't know the real Arya, do you?
The real Arya? Samuel tilted his head. At that moment, Arya interrupted.
Chloe! Are you gonna lie again? I've told you many times, lying is bad.
Looks like she wants to paint me as the liar. The old me would have clammed up here. But the current me wouldn't be intimidated by such threats. I snorted and calmly continued.
You're jealous of me, aren't you? You always put me down and take everything I have.
What? Stop lying. I'm not lying. You took the guy I liked, and now you're trying to take my husband too. Arya fell silent at my accusation. Now's my chance, I thought, and I pressed on. You have a really nasty personality, don't you? It feels good to bring me down, right? And you're just after Samuel's money, aren't you? You dumped your ex because a factory worker wasn't good enough for you. As soon as I said that, Arya's face changed color. I smirked. I heard this story from a classmate in our hometown right after I got married. When I went back for the wedding greetings, Arya had a boyfriend who worked at a factory. They were close to getting married, but when my wedding came up, their engagement fell apart. On the surface, it was said to be a breakup after a fight. But in reality, Arya couldn't stand being with someone poor. I continued talking to Samuel about Arya's terrible personality and her obsession with money. After saying everything, I sighed. Surely Samuel must have understood by now. Or so I thought, but I was wrong. As soon as I finished, Samuel shouted, "You're horrible!" What? No matter how upset you are, how can you say that about your own sister? Samuel looked at me with cold eyes. It's no use, he's completely fooled by Arya. I'm done. I want a divorce after all. But I wanted him to say that he wanted a divorce in front of his parents. But Samuel misunderstood on his own. Shut up. Even if you refuse, I'll take this to mediation or court if I have to. I had no intention of refusing a divorce. I have no interest in staying married to a man who cheats with my sister. Yet Samuel didn't seem to get my real intentions. That was my last warning. Fine, let him and Arya hit rock bottom together. I turned my back on Samuel and Arya. Then I picked up my things. I'm leaving. You two can do whatever you want. Yeah, go ahead. Right, Arya? Samuel grabbed Arya's hand. Arya nodded and squeezed his hand back. Yeah. Let's take good care of our baby together. I hope it really is your baby. I muttered to myself and left the room. After leaving the inn, I went home alone. I quickly packed my belongings and left the house. Then I headed straight to my in-laws' place. I explained the situation to my shocked father and mother-in-law. So, it looks like we're heading for a divorce. What on earth is he thinking? My father-in-law shouted angrily. My mother-in-law, trying to calm him down, turned to me and asked, "Divorce is inevitable, but will you be able to claim demands? Are you okay?" Yes. I have some solid evidence. In fact, there was one thing I had prepared specifically for this trip. It was a wearable camera that fits in my chest pocket. I planned to record the whole trip with it. Of course, it was meant to surprise Samuel, but I ended up capturing his apology and explosive confession instead. Still, it made good evidence of his affair. In hindsight, I might have agreed to the divorce on the spot. At the time, I thought refusing divorce would be more advantageous for me. But if I had known I had such strong evidence, I might have agreed to the divorce right there. I made a lot of mistakes. But it's too late for regrets now. For now, I'll wait for Samuel and Arya to come back. I exchanged information with a certain someone while waiting for them to return. A few days later, my mother-in-law called me. Samuel and Arya have finally come back. Hearing that, I quickly contacted Amelia. Then, together with her, I visited my in-laws. Sorry to keep you waiting. I apologized to my in-laws. For some reason, Samuel pouted. You're late. What were you doing? Cheating? That's your line. I thought to myself. But I didn't say anything and just sat down across from Samuel. Soon, my father-in-law began leading the discussion about our divorce. Samuel started talking first, of course. He made his usual claims.
I just wanted a kid. It's Chloe's fault for not getting pregnant.
As I got angry, Samuel insensitively blurted out what he wanted to say. If I had gotten pregnant, he wouldn't have cheated. He was only seduced by Arya. Arya is kind and comforting. He had no choice but to leave me. Listening to Samuel's one-sided excuses for cheating was exasperating. But I had to listen. Half tuning out, I waited for Samuel to finish his rant.
So, that's why I'm filing for divorce.
Samuel slammed a completed divorce paper on the table. My father-in-law's face darkened a bit.
Is that all you have to say? Yes, I'm definitely getting a divorce. If Chloe refuses, I'll take it to court if I have to.
I want to agree to the divorce. But the issue is the conditions. There are many things I want to say. But this is what I want to ask the most.
I'm fine with the divorce, but are you going to marry my sister after we divorce? That's none of your business. But yes, I plan to. Right, Arya?
Samuel smiled at Arya. Arya returned the smile demurely. It's starting to feel ridiculous. It's best to get this over with quickly. I glanced at Amelia sitting next to me. She nodded slightly.
Excuse me, can I say something? Who are you?
I'm Amelia, Chloe's friend.
Could you look at this?
Amelia placed her phone on the table. Everyone leaned in to look.
What is this?
Samuel was at a loss for words as soon as he saw the screen. He slowly looked at Arya sitting next to him. Meanwhile, Arya began to sweat and tremble, her face turning pale.
This is a photo I took at the hospital. You can see Arya here.
Amelia pointed at the screen and continued with a smile.
This is in front of the OBGYN. Who's the man standing next to Arya?
The photo showed Arya and a young man chatting in front of the OBGYN clinic. Let's rewind a bit. It was a few days before our trip. I got a call from Amelia. I answered cheerfully, but Amelia sounded oddly gloomy.
What's wrong, Amelia? Did something happen? Well, I'm pregnant with my second child. What? Congratulations!
I thought it was happy news, but it seemed otherwise. Amelia continued in a subdued voice. Amelia told me she saw Arya at the hospital while getting her checkup. Arya was with a man, and from their conversation, it seemed like Arya had also just found out she was pregnant. And it looked like that man was the father. That's what Amelia told me.
So, the father of my sister's baby is this man?
I said, pointing at the phone on the table. Arya immediately started to object.
What is this? And why does your friend even know who I am?
That's because...
Oh, I get it. You're trying to set me up.
Arya slammed the table. Amelia and I flinched at the noise.
If you and that weird woman keep lying, I'll sue you both for defamation.
Arya shouted. I narrowed my eyes and replied.
We're not lying.
We're not trying to set you up.
Oh yeah? Then why does this stranger know who I am?
At that moment, Amelia spoke quietly. Classmates.
What? We were classmates. What? Who? With who?
Arya glared at Amelia. Amelia bravely lifted her head.
You and I were at high school. Huh? I don't know you at all.
Arya shot back. Amelia then showed another photo.
This is from the high school entrance ceremony. Here's a photo of Arya and me.
The photo indeed showed Amelia and Arya, though they were looking in different directions. As Amelia showed the photo, she began to recount her past. When Amelia entered high school, she fell for a boy. They got along and talked a lot. Apparently, they even walked to and from school together. But someone didn't like seeing them together. That person was Arya. After seeing them together by chance, Arya got irritated. She started interfering with them. And she even shouted at Amelia.
You shouldn't be so bold. Girls like you should stay quiet in the corner of the classroom.
Arya continued saying things like that to Amelia almost every day. Eventually, Amelia became afraid to go to school and ended up dropping out. After that, she moved here to her mother's hometown. After a while, Amelia recovered, re-entered high school, and eventually went to college. That's where she met me. When Amelia saw me, she remembered the past. But she also learned that I had been mistreated by Arya. Knowing that, Amelia decided to become my friend. Since then, we've supported each other, and we've come this far.
So, yes, I know you very well.
Arya stammered. She looked at Samuel for help. But Samuel was shocked. He seemed taken aback by Arya's outburst earlier.
She loses herself when she gets excited.
Until Arya said she'd sue us, she had managed to stay calm. But after that, she couldn't hide her true nature anymore.
Samuel. That was... Arya, was that man? No, it's not like that. Chloe and her friends are just trying to trap me.
Arya started to make excuses, but it was too late. In the end, Samuel declared he wouldn't remarry her. Moreover, he even pleaded for reconciliation with me. Something that I would never consider.
Chloe! It was just a moment of weakness. Please, let's not get divorced. No way. I will absolutely not withdraw the divorce.
I used the same tone as when I had refused to divorce earlier. Yet, Samuel didn't seem ready to give up.
I'm begging you. I'll do anything.
But I ignored him. I picked up the divorce papers from the table. Then I told Samuel.
Well, I'll go ahead and file these divorce papers. Wait a minute. I won't wait. Goodbye.
With that, I turned my back on the pleading Samuel. Then Amelia and I left my in-laws' house. I headed to the city hall. I quickly filled out the divorce papers and submitted them.
I feel so relieved. That's great to hear. Thanks. It's all thanks to you, Amelia. Let's stay friends from now on.
About a year has passed since Amelia and I had that conversation. I successfully divorced Samuel and now work at a new company. I received the affair damage money from Samuel, and I also managed to get compensation from Arya. My mom was, of course, against it. But my usually quiet dad sided with me. He even told Mom that if she complained any further, he'd consider divorce himself. Mom had no choice but to keep quiet. She knew. She couldn't do anything on her own. Since then, I've remained distant from both Mom and Arya.
Good job today.
I muttered as I returned to my room. Just then, my phone rang.
Hello? What? The police.
The caller was a local police officer. I panicked and asked what had happened. Here's what the officer told me. A few hours before the call, they received a report that someone was causing a disturbance inside a bank. Fearing it might be a bank robbery, multiple officers rushed to the scene. When they arrived, they found that the disturbance was caused by an ordinary couple. It wasn't a robbery, they were just arguing with one of the bank employees. That employee turned out to be Samuel. And the people causing the disturbance were Arya and her boyfriend. The police intervened. And when they asked what was going on, here's what they were told.
This man won't pay the money.
Arya's boyfriend, Kingston, added.
This guy messed with my girl. I have every right to demand money.
Kingston's point might make sense. But causing a scene at a bank is another matter. They were only given a stern warning and then released. Apparently, while the divorce issue between Samuel and me was resolved, the affair with Arya was far from over. I later heard that Samuel had refused to pay the money Kingston demanded for the affair. Right after Arya found out she was pregnant, Kingston had gotten engaged to her. I had no idea if Kingston was serious about marrying her. I also didn't know how far their relationship had progressed. Even so, it's true that they were engaged. That's why Kingston demanded money from Samuel based on their engagement. Maybe Arya and Kingston teamed up to corner Samuel. Anyway, Kingston formally demanded money from Samuel, but Samuel refused. This caused the conflict to escalate, leading to the disturbance at the bank. That's bad enough, but apparently a bigger problem arose right after that.
What? They barged into his home?
According to the police, after the scene at the bank, Arya and Kingston showed up at Samuel's apartment. They caused a loud commotion there as well. Naturally, this led to another call to the police. The officers who responded to the residents' calls thought they couldn't just let it go this time. So, they arrested Arya and Kingston for trespassing. But why were they calling me?
So, you're saying I'm the designated guarantor?
When I asked, the officer confirmed it. Here's what happened. Because of my divorce, Arya was abandoned by our father. And since my mom had been reprimanded by my dad, she couldn't intervene. This meant I was the only nearby person who could be Arya's guarantor. For minor offenses, it's not uncommon for people to be released the same day. In such cases, a guarantor is often required as a condition for release. I'm not a legal expert, but it seemed Arya's case was like that. In that case, there's only one answer. I responded cheerfully.
Oh, I'll decline that. Let her think things over in jail.
With that, I quietly hung up the phone. Afterward, Arya and Kingston were summarily charged and had to pay fines. But they didn't have the money to pay. In the end, they had to beg my dad for a loan. Now, they're working part-time jobs to repay that debt. Meanwhile, Samuel received a stern warning from his bank's upper management for bringing his personal issues into the workplace. Although he was only reprimanded, the cold stares from his colleagues became unbearable. Eventually, Samuel resigned from the bank. But finding a new job wasn't easy. And returning to his parents' house was not an option. The root cause was his betrayal of me. His father was furious about the whole situation. With nowhere else to turn, Samuel resorted to borrowing money from shady sources. You can imagine what happened next. Samuel couldn't repay the loans, and he was taken to a remote construction site by debt collectors. He's probably still working there, sweating it out in the mountains. As for me, I'm doing well at my new job. The pay might be lower than when I was a bank clerk. But the work environment is great, and I'm enjoying my life. Plus, seeing Amelia's second baby is something to look forward to.
Hey Amelia! Can I come over tomorrow? Sure, but aren't you looking for a boyfriend? That can wait.
Of course, I'm not lying, but if a good match comes along, I'd consider marriage. I won't let anyone take control of my life. Most importantly, I'll seize my own happiness, and no